Okay, I'm committing a crime today towards the farming game community. I'm sharing with you farming games that I see so many people love, but I just cannot stand for whatever reason that we're gonna discuss today. And these are overall farming games that I regret playing.
Oh my god, she does not like Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life remake. She is horrible. I'm unsubscribing right now. How dare you not even like my favorite game of all time? You are such a fake gamer. You don't deserve any of your subscribers. Everybody should just unsubscribe you. And this is...
Shout out to Miss Bubbles and this skit from 2 years ago, and I find it crazy that 2 years later, this feeling still applies where sharing your opinions online can feel a little bit illegal. Anyway, we're starting with Stardew Valley, cause why the heck is Clint a romanceable character? I think that game should be cancelled. I already heard the keyboard taps all the way here. I'm joking, please don't come for me. Okay, let me be serious. Feet of the Shire, I'm sorry, Tales of the Shire, is a game that I was in complete agony playing. Now, I already went wrong by buying it on the Nintendo Switch. That is completely my bad. Or is it? Because why are they selling it on the Switch when it is this horrendous? Anyways, the game on the Nintendo Switch looks so bad, I was shooketh. The bugs were also hilarious, but I'm willing to sit through these if gameplay is fun. This game is so boring. I was dreading every second of it. We streamed it, and you can see the agony in my eyes and on my face. After that, I forced myself to play more offline so I can, progress a little bit and work on my before you buy video. This game's world feels so lively and dead, like you're moving back and forth where the world is empty and the process is sluggish. You see these birds that you can follow to help you find your next destination. I see that the devs tried to implement the wind system from Ghost of Tsushima and Ghost of Tsushima, which work perfectly in those games. But here, these birds made me more confused than actually helping me out. So combining me going in circles and the boring story with the boring gameplay, I just feel like the devs do not understand what makes a cozy game a good one. So I was dreading the extremely slow gameplay loop and pacing, and considering I have been so eager for an actually good cooking game, this also fell flat on its face in that department. After creating a couple of dishes, I just wasn't interested in making more. It was mind-boggling to me seeing the price of the game, the state it was ported in to the Switch, but then overall how lacking the game was. Tales of the Shire has very positive reviews on Steam, but man oh man was it not the game for me. I have a 22-minute long before you buy where I explain to you all of the issues that I had with this game. And again, trust me, the graphics was the least of my problems here, so that should already tell you a lot considering how bad they are. Okay, before we move forward, I want to make a quick disclaimer. Please remember that opinions are subjective, and please understand that my opinion of these games, if is in contradiction with yours, it is not an attack on you. It is simply how I feel about those games, so please do not take it personal. Okay, the next game is Roots of Pacha. This one has overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam, and I remember when playing it, I was in awe of how beautiful the game is. From the setting to the music, the UI that fits its prehistoric vibe perfectly. Now mind you, I last played this game in 2023 when it was released. I also love how the tools were handled. Everything was in its own place, so you have a wheel for the tools, you have a wheel for the seeds, so it made inventory management pretty simple. So here, you and your clan contribute to your prosperity, and you're gonna get new decorations, you're gonna develop new ideas, which I really loved seeing. So all of this is designed in a way to progress your clan's story. Heck, you even get to have a mammoth that you can ride, which is pretty awesome. So Bubbles, like, what went wrong, right? Everything seems really good. Well, this is where the nitpicks for me started to come up and overshadow the positives. My animals would keep getting sick for no reason, and it was getting pretty frustrating. The cave system and the puzzles, which are very important to the story progression, were so tedious for me, and I hated solving them. I also kept getting stuck in there. I was uninterested in the game's NPCs, and I actually have no recollection of any of them. Which, if you are a fan of this channel, you already know this, but if you're new here, for me, I don't really mind not having very deep connections to the characters. Heck, even if the story is not the best, I'm okay with that as long as the gameplay loop really satisfies me. So with gameplay loop always being king for me, I just felt like overall it was just way too slow. I usually do not like games with a pacing that does not feel rewarding, and this was a major issue for me. I said this in my before you buy video, which I'm gonna leave for you in the pinned comment. I just couldn't put my finger on why I'm not enjoying this. And now looking back, it was my lack of interest in the game that evolved the more that I played. So after I posted my review, I was just so happy to be done with it that I uninstalled the game and I never went back. The next game had so many issues with the developers. There was so much drama. They were unbubbly to the community, but seems like I think they have, you know, settled down. But the game itself, it just wasn't the game for me. I'm talking about Ooblets. This one is at a very positive score on Steam. So from the graphics, you can already tell that it's very quirky, and you have these Ooblet seeds that you can collect, and then they're gonna follow you around and help you on your farm. It also has a fun take on combat. So challenges and disagreements in the game are solved through the art of dance. Every Ooblet has moves that you can use to your advantage during the dance battles, and in the beginning, it's a pretty cute little game. So here's where things started to not gel with me. First, I felt like even though there is creativity in the type of gameplay that the developers are bringing to the table, especially when we consider the fact that this is a farming sim, the game just felt very shallow the more that I played it. I felt like there was a lack of navigation, so I remember feeling lost and getting bored very quickly. I just didn't know where to go. And I've had some games that do that to me sometimes, but eventually it will click. You know, you will wait for that click. That click never happened with this game. Even the quests themselves were not entertaining. So when it comes to fetch quests, I have no issue with them if they're done right. So my favorite type of fetch quests are found in Disney Dreamlight Valley and Hello Kitty Island Adventure, and even Garden Paws if you've ever played that game before. I really like these games because the fetch quests are designed in a way that I still feel rewarded for the time that I've spent in the game's world, interacting with its various gameplay loops, and again, it just feels rewarding. With Ooblets, I just felt bored. I'm doing all of these fetch quests, I don't feel like I'm rewarded enough, and even the dance battles, which are innovative, they become lackluster when you have tried them 2 to 3 times. And the overall pacing was just not good enough for me so that it will make me feel invested. And you know that loop of, oh, okay, let me play 1 more hour, and then you end up playing for 5 instead? Yeah, I get this feeling in a lot of farming games, and I adore that. Unfortunately, this feeling was the total opposite here. I would try to play an hour and I would hope to get invested, yet that hour felt like it was going for ages. The game's pacing felt as slow as a snail, and you're gonna notice this as a trend in this video. My biggest pet peeve in farming sims is a slow pace that never feels rewarding. The next game is an RPG that I was so excited about. I love RPGs, and you can probably tell from my setup, I am a massive fan of these games. So man, was I so disappointed when this game, it did not come through. My favorite farming sims are ones that implement RPG elements into them. So to my surprise, Harvestella turned out to be a complete disappointment for me, and it's one of the games that managed to shift from, oh my god, I cannot wait to play this game, to, oh boy, I cannot stand this. It currently sits at mostly positive review score on Steam, and I remember meeting so many people that absolutely adore this game. So I felt like maybe I'm missing something here. So I kept trying and playing more, and the more time I spent trying and forcing myself to enjoy it, the more I despised it. My biggest off-putting thing when playing a game is when it turns from a game with so many fun factors to it becoming a chore to play. You know that feeling when you finally have some free time to play a game in the evening, but the thought of how much of a chore playing a particular game sucks the joy out of gaming for you, and you're just like, you know what, I'd rather not play? Yeah, this was me with Harvestella. Combat felt like it was just too much in this game, with difficulty spikes popping up in a way that is just new, considering this is a farming game. But I also don't like when combat is this clunky. Like, heck, combat in the My Time games isn't that, oh my god, this is Cyberpunk or Witcher type of combat, but they never take away from the joy of me playing and being eager to progress and explore. I also don't understand when a game locks basic game mechanics like dodging or rolling behind later unlocks when the combat is this tedious, and it's very repetitive. I think Square Enix would have been better off making the game as an RPG, focusing on polishing the combat more, and just avoid smacking the farming genre on top just because it's a tag that is getting a lot of attention, especially especially when Harvestella released. And here's the thing, they didn't even do the farming any justice because it's also very shallow. So yeah, it just felt like it was yet another chore to add to the end of my day, and eventually I just fell off the game. Another game is one that I was initially very excited about. I was like, oh my god, look at this, it's a new premise, it can go really well, but again, it just didn't deliver what I was hoping it would. Paleopines has very positive reviews. It mixes farming with dinosaurs that you can befriend, so I was so excited to try it. The dinosaur animations are adorable, and the devs added some extra gameplay mechanics to help you connect with them. So you're gonna take care of them, build them a sanctuary, and you're slowly building their trust for you, which is not an easy task. I like this extra challenge. You know, a lot of farming games make barn animals just very easy, and you know, they can easily be brushed to the side. But here, the dinosaurs have extra depth into them. They can also help you out on the farm, and yes, you can ride them. This all sounds so fun, but the experience started to fall short when the story pacing was yet again very slow. And the game is tied to unlocking progression by advancing the main story. There is no romance here, and that's never been an issue for me, and in my before you buy video for this game, you're gonna see that I loved the attention to detail, including the different needs that the dinosaurs have. But the drawbacks, apart from the very slow pacing, was the map. I was finding it so tedious to get around the world. I kept pulling up the big map, which eventually completely broke my immersion. And considering the world mostly feels empty, adding more activities would have probably made navigating it a little bit more fun. So all of this was throwing a dent in my enjoyment of the game. The fetch quests are also made in a way that makes you feel like you're just going back and forth with the same couple of people. Oh my gosh, and Tales of the Shire also did that so many times, and I was just like, please, like, oh, get this book from X, you get the book from X. Oh, return the book to A, you return the book to A. Oh, you know, A now is telling you, go back and take the book back to X. And I was like, but I was already at X. Why did you, why? Like, this always drives me crazy. A collection of quests could have been a lot better if they were better paced and didn't feel like this empty and boring thing to complete. Like, even when I think of Disney Dreamlight Valley and Hello Kitty Island Adventure that are notorious for their fetch quests, I still find myself invested in what's happening, and I'm overall enjoying traversing the world while I'm at it. In Paleopines, the experience was frustrating. Add to that, your inventory is so annoying to navigate, and you have to keep going back to it to switch between the tools. So instead of having quality of life features to make this easier, maybe like using a wheel similar to Roots of Pacha, I just felt like my time here was just facing hiccup after hiccup. But let me praise the devs because they do have accessibility features. They have an FOV slider, which is a massive accessibility tool that I don't see a lot of cozy game devs appreciate or even implement in their games. So that was really good to see. But if you want to see like my whole breakdown of this game, you can see it in my before you buy video. This next game was kind of like a lesson about a specific thing that a developer can keep telling you about, and it becomes a red flag for future games that you play. So the devs of Crashdew Island kept reinforcing the idea that this is a small and cozy game. And this was a pretty bad experience overall for me on the Switch, since that version crashed on me twice, including while I was just trying to stream it for you guys. I also learned that the PC version is also pretty bad and riddled with bugs. But let's put these issues aside for a moment and focus on the gameplay, which again is the king for me in games. So mind you, when I went into this game, I already had my expectations tapered, since I was told it's just not the best. And also the devs told me in their email, you know, this game is going to be grindy, but it's also a small game. So I was like, okay, that's fine, you know, I adore games that are grindy, that's okay. So Wildflowers, My Time games, Coral Island, all of these are grindy, so that's not an issue. And if the game is small, then it's okay, not every game has to be massive, right? Here's when all of this is just a little bit mind-boggling. When Crashdew Island is asking for $17 on Steam, but it doesn't have much substance to it. Even playing through the shopkeeping segment, which I usually love experiencing in-game, I love shop management, I just felt like it was passive. All you do is just stand there behind the cashier and you just don't have much immersion in this. I remember most of the grind was also for seeds, for example. So even trying to do the grind didn't feel that rewarding. Add to that, the characters were pretty bland and lifeless, so while it was nice to have the game not focus on chaos and rushing you, it just felt repetitive. It was a boring experience, the controls were painfully janky, and in my before you buy video, I was taken aback that in my this game is for you if, not for you if, and my verdict section, in the this game is for you segment, I was just trying to look for reasons why you might enjoy this game. If you're new to my channel, what I do in my before you buys is no matter how I feel about the game, I will always have an ending segment where I tell you this game is for you if, not for you if, and my verdict. So when I am so desperate to find reasons why you might enjoy a game and I don't know like why I would recommend it to you, you know that yeah, that game is just not it. Because regardless of how I feel, I always will try to find your reasons why you will love a game that I hate or why you will hate a game that I love. So yeah, this was yet another game with mostly positive reviews on Steam that I just cannot stand. And if you've reached this point of the video, hello you gorgeous human being, it's Miss Bubbles. If this video has been helpful, consider squishing the like and subscribe buttons. And if you want to go the extra mile, you can support me on Ko-fi, Patreon, or by becoming a YouTube channel member where you can get lots of perks. Alright, let's continue with the video. The next two games are actually games that I adore. So you're gonna be like, okay, so what's the problem? The problem is their Switch port. I still get really upset when developers put out a Switch port that is just terrible. Like, I don't know. People are still buying the game, right? They're paying for it. So when it's just not good, it just doesn't really sit well with me. And with many of you who follow me, who only have the Nintendo Switch as their only way to play the My Time games, Portia and Sandrock, yeah, this one is not good on the Switch. I remember playing Portia and it looked like a slideshow on my Switch. And even though I bought the port on the Switch during a sale, I felt so sad because I could have bought something else and something that I could have, you know, played in peace. Another thing that you have to know is that I have motion sickness and a lot of bubblies in our community have motion sickness as well. So when the frame rates are dipping severely, when every time you're rotating the camera, it's just so much exaggerated popping and you just feel like everything is stuttering. Yeah, our motion sickness and our nausea kicks in and it's just not a fun time. And I'm so sad to say Sandrock was the same way for me. So Numbskull sent me this beautiful My Time at Sandrock home. I added like the little flower. And they also gave me, let me show you. Where is Logan? Oh, Logan! And we have Logan over here. So they sent me this box along with the Nintendo Switch game and I tried to play it and I was like, oh my god, it's another slideshow yet again. The pop-in was also very severe and it was immersion breaking, while I felt like the game was fighting for its life to run. So it was heartbreaking to see because I love these games. I play them on my PC all the time. And by the way, Sandrock actually runs really well on the Steam Deck, but I can't comment on Portia because I never tried it on the deck. I even had the devs reach out on my short review mentioning that they patched up the game and it runs a lot better, and many incredible community members who join our streams and we talk about all the farming games we love, they tell me that the game is running good on Switch. However, I tried it several times even with the update and I still cannot play it without feeling nauseous after a few minutes. So this is yet another game and we're talking specifically about its port that I've seen so many people swear by, but I cannot play it for the life of me. The next game is one that I think is so beautiful and I actually bought its sequel because I am going to test it out for a fun big challenge video that I'm working on. But Doraemon Story of Seasons, the one that released in 2019, has very positive reviews on Steam. And you know, it was my hope that I'm going to start feeling a little bit more invested in characters that I meet in a farming game. And the trailer showed the premise of, you know, the stereotypical in the power of friendship trope that we see in anime. Right off the bat, the game is heavily driven by the trigger system, and that is a crucial way for you to progress through the story, for you to unlock new tools and materials. And so I found myself spending more time on the wiki trying to learn what to do next so that I can trigger a specific cutscene rather than actually playing the game myself and and finding enjoyment in the gameplay loop. I love how recent games, including Guardians of Azuma and Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar, do their trigger system, where we're told where to go, at what time, and it's easy to improve our relationships and trigger cutscenes. This removes that guesswork for me, so I can just sit back, play my game in peace, and not realize that I've missed an event that, let's say, only happens in X season, and now I'm waiting for a whole in-game year to pass. So in Doraemon, combine the clunky controls, the confusing map, and the lack of guidance, I didn't see much of a reason as to why I would spend more time playing it, because the more that I tried to play it, the more frustrated I got. This next game is the first time that your girl experienced pitchforks in the comments. This was a remake of a game, and it was very nostalgic to a lot of people, right? So in Todd Howard's words, it just works. However, considering I had no attachment to the original, I was just like, what is this? No, I do not like it. And I am talking about Story of Seasons A Wonderful Life. What an absolute snooze fest. And it's funny how I felt like the NPCs were complete cabbages. Well, it turns out that the game gets better after 15 hours. Again, I don't mind boring NPCs if the gameplay loop is fun, but this game was such a boring chore and it literally made me hate picking up my Nintendo Switch. I remember forcing myself to play more just so that I can have enough hours where I can give it a fair review. The game has very positive reviews on Steam with a large fan base that adores the original, and they also adored the remake. I really like the sprites here, and unlike many that commented on my review, I think the graphics are, they were a step in the right direction considering how old this game was, and, back then Exceed and Marvelous were slowly getting their groove back. But the gameplay loops were naturally just old, so even things like mining were such a slog to get through. And then I had freaking Carter just being in my way all the time, which made me so annoyed. There's also the lack of quality of life features in this game, which were very off-putting, with things as simple as buying crops, where you're forced to buy a set amount each time and you have to keep sitting through dialogue, rinse and repeat. And again, my demise in farming games is trigger systems. I don't like them unless they're done in a tolerable way, so being forced to wait for, day X or time Y, and you have to get married in the first year and then the game will get better. I don't know, it just breaks my immersion. And I always say this, time is your biggest asset, and it is such a scarce resource in our life. I don't want to be spending 15 to 20 hours until a game gets good. I'll give you 10. After that, I'm just out. So combine the cabbage NPCs in the first 10 hours with the gameplay loop that is just lacking at best. I just couldn't do it. The thing that is the most surprising is that last year we got Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar. So we had an original Grand Bazaar game. I never played that. However, Marvelous and Exceed decided to take that game and then add to it. And I think they did it in such an incredible way. It is so much better. It fits the modern style of farming games, and it also keeps up with a lot of the quality of life features that we have while still keeping, a little bit of that classic farming tedium, let's say, that we had back in the day. And when I look at that game and then I look at A Wonderful Life, I'm just like, Grand Bazaar is just so much better. And since we're talking about Grand Bazaar, I want to say a massive shout out to our friends from Marvelous UK, because they gave me one Steam key that I can give to one of you for Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar. It is such an incredible game. I would love for you to try it. You know how much I love that game. So I'm going to be throwing a giveaway, and a week from this video's publication, I will comment on the winner's post to let you know if you've won. Please do answer me back within 1 week, otherwise I will have to pick another winner. So how do you enter the giveaway? Because you've been here, you stayed until this point of the video, you didn't kill me, for not liking some of the games that a lot of people love. All I want from you is to comment down below, and whatever your comment is, make sure to use a bubbles emoji, and that's it. You are in the giveaway. I'm so happy that the developers are always giving us, some keys that we can give back to our bubbly community. With that said, let me know which farming game you feel like everybody loves, but you're just like, is it just me, or is this game not good? Thank you to my YouTube and Patreon bubblies who make videos like this possible, and a shout out goes to the games I mentioned: Jake Logan, Stella, Faye, Grey Wolf, Emmy, Blessing, Charming Cara, Fufe, Andrew, and Cookie for going the extra mile. Until next time, stay bubbly.